Drew from the Money Is Show, and today we got a super cool guest on the show, a guy that's very, very similar to almost my journey, my path in real estate entrepreneurship as well. His name is Steve Streit, and Steve is from the greater Detroit, Michigan area, and went deep into real estate just like I did, and went into fix and flip and wholesale and rental properties and subject to and lease option, and has done hundreds and hundreds of deals and found a success inside of there, and is pivoting into entrepreneurship, which is the true passion that most of us have inside of real estate. And now is moving into, how do you help that entrepreneur get started? Should they get started in real estate, or should they get started in business? What is that entrepreneur, and how does that journey look like from Steve Streit's opinion and viewpoint? We're going to dive in, ask him all these questions today so you guys can learn how to make the next move in your business. Steve, welcome for the show, man.
Hey, thanks for having me.
Thanks for flying all the way out here from the Detroit area.
Yep.
Which is a direct flight, if I'm not mistaken.
No swearing in the show, or are we swearing?
Oh, whatever the fuck you want to do.
Okay, cool. Yeah, we rode the Iron Pimp all the way from Detroit. It was a nice bumpy four-hour ride.
Wow.
But overall, we survived.
Because Detroit, major Delta hub.
Yeah.
And Salt Lake, major Delta hub.
Yeah, I mean, there's flights like twice a day, 3 times a day, it seems like.
What's funny is they talk about how Atlanta, where
Yeah.
I'm originally from and so forth, is like, I think they say the biggest airport or the busiest airport. I can't remember what they say. But every time I freaking fly into Detroit, I swear to God, that airport is massive.
Yeah.
Like, massive airport.
It's huge. The
Beautiful
Delta
rebuild.
terminal's big.
Yeah, it's like,
Yeah.
and you guys have the trains up in the almost in the air, if you will.
Yeah, the trams, yep.
Yeah, the trams that are going back and forth from place to place is
Yeah.
actually in the air, which is kind of a unique build out they did there. And it's a beautiful airport.
Yep.
Beautiful freaking airport. But it's a big one, dude.
Yeah.
It's a massive one.
Yeah, my grandfather actually used to work there back in the 60s. Yep, Northwest Airlines.
Let's talk about real estate.
Yeah.
Well, actually, before we talk about real estate, let's talk about Steve for a second. Born and raised in the Detroit area?
Yeah, yeah.
Really, the whole time?
Yep.
And you said you worked at the airport. Did you have family go through all the Ford plants, and any members there work there?
No, not so much, which is kind of unique.
Yeah, it's very unique that you're born and raised there and never really touched that side.
Yeah, so but the spin-offs, it's like the tool and die plants, the small automotive shops.
Yeah,
it's like
all
all
the
that stuff.
spin-offs.
It's kind of ingrained. It's like just industrial building after industrial building.
Cars industry is very similar to real estate industry in that you have real estate, but then you have all these spin-offs of the lumber yards and then the tile factories, and it's like it spins and spins, and the mortgage side, the appraisal side, the home inspection side. Like from real estate is like all these industries, and cars I think are very similar the same way. You have the cars and all the spin-offs that they use to help produce the cars themselves.
Yeah.
Let's talk about growing up, Steve. When you grew up, did you grow up poor family, rich family, entrepreneurship family? What was it like growing up, Steve?
So no entrepreneurs.
Okay.
Raised largely by my grandfather. He
Okay.
worked for the airlines.
Okay.
Was unemployed part of the time just because he got older. I would say we, how would I describe this? Not poor, but probably lower middle class.
Okay.
Money was always an issue, so it wasn't a positive issue usually.
Mm-hmm. Yep.
Didn't travel much, didn't do a lot of special events. So I learned how to make money at an early age. So that was one of my drivers. I mean, we talked earlier about the baseball cards. That was a hustle I had. At 12 years old, knocking door to door, selling subscriptions to the Detroit News. So I learned how to do door-to-door sales, which, by the way, if anybody knows me now, I was the exact opposite as a kid. Like, I didn't talk unless somebody spoke to me. So it was terrifying.
Really?
By the way. It was absolutely terrifying.
Yeah.
Like, and it still is. Like, if you knock on somebody's door, it's not
That's a very unique
it's not
experience.
it's not an easy thing.
No.
So, I mean, long story short, I'll give you the short version. I mean, we're all riding our bikes to the neighborhood. It was me and 2 of my best buddies, Derek Ravel and Mike Jardine, and a bus or a van drove by, and there was a bunch of kids in the van. It looked like a kidnapper van. We're like, what is going on? And literally, a dude with a ponytail stopped the car, stopped the bus. He goes, "Hey, come over here." And we fucking circle our bikes around. We look at each other like, do we need to throw down on this guy or get the hell out of here?
Yeah.
We were, young kids, but we saw other kids in the van. He's like, "You guys want to make some money?" And it was like, okay, what's the catch? And there was like some girls in the van. There was some boys. Like, it was like, okay. It was like there was kids our age, and they didn't look like they were abducted. And they were like, yeah, here's the thing. And like he like flashed, like he had like a stack of $2 bills in his visor. And he was like, that was the bonus that you got if you sold a subscription, like whoever sold the most subscription. Anyway, long story short, we learned how to like knock on doors, do the skit of, and we learned a script, you know, of how to sell newspapers door to door, and whoever got the most subscriptions for the day got a bonus. I mean, it was one of the best experiences, but the most terrifying.
Yeah.
But it was, number one, we had a script. This is looking back, this is hindsight. This is not me then. We had a script, we had peer pressure, we had accountability, and we had bonuses. And you know, there was a lot of times, and I was the most shy kid, or one of the most shy kids in school, period. Like I told you, I didn't talk to anybody. But I would win for the day in sales.
Yeah. Yeah, I think the door-to-door, I did door-to-door as a young person as well. And dude, I think everybody at some point should go do door-to-door sales.
Yeah.
Walking to, even to this day,
yep.
If you stop and think about this, which at this point, obviously I have no problem talking.
Yeah.
But walking to a door, doing door-to-door sales, you got to think about this. As you walk to the door, there's like a 95% chance it's a no.
Yes.
Coming back on you.
Yes.
Like it's a fail.
Yes.
Like and being able to walk to a door, to a stranger, knowing good and well, there's like a 95% chance or whatever it is, you know, for your product, that the answer's going to come back as a no, and you still go do it. It's insane. But while you do it, there's so much you learn, I think, about entrepreneurship during door-to-door sales that you didn't know that you were learning. I didn't know that I was learning at the time. But overcoming objectives, understanding the customer, understanding fear, right? Understanding, and then you start diving into the motivation and the driving force behind it, whether it be money or not. I think there's a ton that you can learn from door-to-door sales, especially as an entrepreneur growing up inside of it. So you go on, where does real estate, as you grow up, where does real estate first start for you at?
So real estate, I bought my first house, I was 20 years old.
Okay.
So 19, 20. Got a loan. I was making like $10 or $11 an hour, but I was taking a paycheck, so I was like full doc. They gave me a loan. They gave me a subprime loan too on top of that.
Gosh.
So they gave me a second.
Yeah,
so I had to take a first and a second
An 80-20 or
just to get it. It's exactly what it was. It was 80-20. This is in 2003.
Yeah.
But like, I was like, I didn't know what I needed to do. I just knew I needed to get into real estate.
Yeah.
So I bought a house. And any way I could do it, I bought a house. And you know, I got the loan. I moved 2 roommates in. They basically covered most of the mortgage. So I had a 3-bedroom house, 2 roommates. You know, the mortgage is mostly covered. And then I'm like, okay, now I'm rocking. You know, or so I thought. Sure. You know, so that was my first intro. I just knew I needed to do something. I just didn't have the proper training. So I didn't read all the books or have any mentors when I was 18, 19 years old on real estate, but that's what I did. But it was good. It was a good experience. You
bought your first one as really a personal property, but then moved tenants, roommates into it.
Kind of house hacked it a little bit.
Yep. As you go through real estate, right? So me and you are kind of going through real estate almost at the same time.
Yeah.
As we get both of our real estate careers going through, early 2000s, so forth. Where did you start the game in? Fix and flip, wholesale, rental properties? What kind of strategy did you use first as you got into it?
Flip.
Flip as in fix and flip?
Yeah.
Or
fix and flip.
Fix and flip first.
Yeah.
Okay. Tell me about that first deal you did as a fix and flip. Did you use hard money, private money, your own money, bank money? What did you end up doing?
My own money.
You put your own money into it?
Yep. And here, I'll tell you the quick story. So we identified a house. We bought the house for $20,000, me and another partner.
Okay.
Okay. This house is now worth $300,000, by the way. Yeah. So this was in 2009, 10.
Oh, wow.
So this is in the crash. This is my very first flip. I had a business going at the time.
Yep.
But it was like, you know what? I need to flip houses. Like, here's my chance.
Okay.
We bought the house, and it was me and a partner. So we each threw 10 grand and some change plus closing costs to get the deal. We had that much money. Yeah. Which was a lot of money for somebody. I was, in my mid-20s, whatever. That was still a chunk of change for me, but we did it. And then, I started fixing it up. She didn't like the way I was moving. I wasn't moving fast enough. She says, buy me out.
Okay.
Buy me out. So I had to come up with a chunk of money to buy her out because she had put some money in for the rehab at this point. So I had like 30 days to come up with that money, which is great because it, Steve, get your ass to work. Bought her out. Took me like almost a year to finish this thing.
Oh my gosh.
Because I was like bootstrapping everything. I'd go do some contracting jobs, paint some houses, put $3,000 here, take some of my guys, put it over there. And it was a huge deal. Anyway, we got this thing up and we listed it for the price of $99,000. This is a 1,500 square foot house, granite countertops, 2 bathrooms, basement, and a garage. Okay, this house is worth $300,000, by the way, right now. You know, we had some offers. There was some appraisal issues. I mean, it went back and forth, but finally we got the thing sold. And this is like in the bottom of the crash. It sold in 10. 10 or 11.
Yeah, that's
end of 10 or 11.
Scraping the bottom right
there.
there.
We were scraping the bottom. So sold the thing and literally had the biggest check of my life. And it might not sound exciting to some of the viewers, but some of you might identify with it. I mean, it was like, after closing costs, it was like an $82,000 check. I was like, this fucking rocks. This is my money. I'm good, dude. You know? I was like,
I had them.
This is a nice rip for somebody that's used to, you know, contracting. And I was like, that's it. I'm going to be a millionaire. All I need to do is 15 more of these, and I'm fucking out of the game. That's what I thought. That was in my head.
They call it spreadsheet math.
I was like, that's all I need to do is rinse and repeat this shit, and let's go. You know? So life happened. Didn't quite work like that. I didn't rinse and repeat it. End up being in a relationship that produced something very, very wonderful, but something very, very bad. So it was a good and an evil to it. So my son was born in 2010 in May. But I split with his mom, and that caused a lot of, you know, headache, heartache, attorney fees, court fees, and just mental anguish. And then I just took care of him. I took care of him for 2 days a week, so I didn't work. Which was great being an entrepreneur. Like, I was able to do that, but like my focus was just way off. And, you know, so I didn't do the, you know, the 10, 20 houses like I thought. I was a little bit distracted in a good way. But that was my first deal. Never forget that first deal.
Yeah, no one ever gets their first. You've had hundreds of them now, but it's amazing when you ask someone about their very first deal, they can tell you, like, and I can do the same. I can literally tell you every detail about that very first deal. My fourth deal, I have no freaking clue.
That's right.
My first deal, I can tell you like every last detail about 1809 Greenfitch Court. I can tell you every last detail about it. So as you go on, you do all these real estate deals, wholesale, fix and flip, rentals, etc. Now you moved into multifamily.
So fast forward, you know, I went through, you know, I dabbled with a few real estate deals, but mostly focused on trying to build my construction painting company, stuff like that. So I kind of got out of flipping. But then I finally hung up my hat in 2016, and I was full bore. I did what I wanted to do back in 10. And I just went balls to the wall, and, you know, learned about OPM and fixed and flip, you know, 120 houses, and then learned about wholesaling, subject to buying properties on land contract, selling properties on land contract, you know, fixed and flipped a nice 8-unit, would regret selling that, by the way, too, and then got some, you know, a couple 20-unit apartments. So we went kind of through the progression on all the smaller residential type real estate transactions.
Looking back at it now, what would you tell someone getting started in real estate? So someone's watching, they're getting started in real estate. I got a couple questions here for you. Number one, would you advise them to use OPM or not use OPM out of the gate?
That's a really good question, dude, because I look back at that and it taught me a lesson. Like, my own money taught me a very powerful lesson. I watched all my costs. Nothing was given to me. I bootstrapped everything, but it took a year. You know, so I'd say if you have a little bit of money, I would put it in the game. Like, I think you need to have money in the game, especially if it's your first deal and you got 20 grand sitting in the bank. Like, don't go borrow all the money from somebody else, which, by the way, I didn't even know you could do. I didn't know that was a thing. Like, I thought in order to flip houses, you just had to kind of have a rich uncle or like stumble into some money. Like, that's what I thought. So I would say, number one, realize that yes, you can borrow money, hard money and private money. It's out there. They want to lend to you. If you're doing your first deal, you might want to get a partner, I would say. So get somebody that's flipped houses. Maybe they have the money. That might be a good progression. So a good thing good thing for you to do if you're newer, find the deal, get in front of the deal. That's the most important thing, is be the person that's in front of the deal. Then you have the control. Partner with somebody that's done this. Maybe they have the money. You guys flip it together, go ahead and split the profit. There's nothing wrong with that. And then go from there, because you're going to learn a lot from them, and then they're going to be able to help you with the funding and everything else.
Yeah, I look back on mine, and out of the gate, I went OPM, all OPM, like out of the gate.
Yeah.
And as I was asking the question, because when you talk about all cash, which is the opposite of mine.
Yeah.
And on both sides, there's positive and negatives. Like I was thinking about it, like what the positive of mine was, it didn't take me a year. It took me, I was in and out in under 90 days.
Yeah.
I did none of the work. There was no bootstrapping it. I literally like hired the contractors, blasted through it, put it back on the market. Realistically, by the time you wrapped up your first one, I was probably 30 houses into it by that point. Because like I hit it and then like accelerated it.
Yeah.
All positive. Here's your negative. Because I never took the time to understand the risk of my own money. I was never afraid of the leverage side of it. And then when the crash came, I was way over leveraged.
Yeah.
And it bit me in the butt.
Yeah.
Where, like you're saying, if you are playing with some of your money out of the gate, and if I would have done that, I wonder, looking back, if I'd have been a little bit more cautious, conservative, whatever it may be.
Yeah.
Versus just like 100% OPM through it, right? There's positive and negatives from both sides of it.
No doubt.
On those very first deals, especially as you're getting into it.
Yeah.
The other question I'm going to ask you, looking back in real estate, you've done all these deals. Someone getting started in real estate, right? They're trying to get their feet into it, get off the ground. Uniquely, where again our stories align at is I started fix and flip, you started with fix and flip, right? But there's all these other strategies, right? You got everything from freaking tax liens to wholesale, subject to lease options, like all these different strategies, right? Is there one that you would say, hey, look, if you're getting started in real estate, looking back at my career, I'd probably look at maybe starting with this one and at least start with this one strategy first?
Yeah, so fixing and flipping is like the most common thing that people think about when they say, hey, let's do a deal.
Yep.
Let's flip a house, right?
All the TV shows. And
yeah, so it's the HGTV. But I would say, I mean, if I look back on all the deals that I sold, I would have a lot more if I didn't sell those deals, most of them. So if you have the opportunity to get into a deal with low money down and just hold it, and you don't have a high management cost, maybe you take over somebody's mortgage who just like wants to move. Like I've done a ton of those, and they've been great for me. So don't be afraid of like, taking over somebody's mortgage potentially, or getting a good deal on a rental that gives you passive income, because that's going to add up, because that's every month you're getting a check, and maybe fixing and flipping isn't your thing, and you got to pay capital gains on that when you sell it. So there's a lot of advantages of not selling property. So
yeah, I mean, I was a fix and flipper and have sold fix and flip hundreds and hundreds and hundreds of houses.
Yeah.
And right now, at 2021, I always look back and think, my God, what would have happened if I'd have kept all those freaking houses?
That's right.
Like, you're talking insane. Saying that, though, to be fair, I would not have been able to do that many deals.
Yeah.
Because getting OPM for fix and flip is way easier than getting OPM for 100 rental properties.
No doubt.
Way different strategies there. But you talk about that first one you did worth $300,000 or that 8 unit. Like if you'd have held on to that 8 unit or whatever it is.
Yeah. That's an ass kicker there.
It's how all real estate works as you get into it. And I think for me, I always fixed and flipped or wholesaled because I wanted capital. I wanted some capital to go do X. I wanted that $30,000, $20,000, whatever it was, to be able to go do ABC.
Yeah.
And then I looked at a rental. I'm thinking, my God, but it is going to take me $200 a month of positive income after I pay everything.
And that's how I looked at it.
It's going to be like, dude, this doesn't even pay my cell phone bill for this month, this whole house.
No, it looks stupid.
But 5 years later, 8 years later, it looks like, yeah, but I would have made like $100,000 of equity in that meantime.
Yeah, the version of me now would be thanking myself then. Like the 20-something-year-old, like, hold that freaking house, dude. Like, just hold that house.
Yep.
And then we started to, so pandemic hit, and we're like, we couldn't sell anything because we couldn't show houses in Michigan.
Right.
Everything got shut down. The world was shut down.
You guys got hit hard there.
Yeah, the world was shut down, and we're like, okay, well, let's just turn them all into rentals. Boom.
Yeah.
So overnight, we filled up, I don't know, like 20 doors. We're like, psst, that's it.
Yeah.
And it's like, well, they all got brand new counters, all hardwood floors, all the work's done. Cool. We never, we don't have to do more of these. So, so in theory, if you have good renters, if you have good management, that product will continue to pay you for life.
Yeah.
And for somebody who's starting out, you can self-manage these things, or even hire a property manager at 10%. And as long as you bought it right and you got good cash flow, meaning you got a good loan on it, a good note, you should be able to cash flow, make $500 a month. You stack 10 of those, that's $5,000 a month. That's pretty good for the average person starting out, I would say. That's not bad.
No, not at all, man. Not even including the depreciation, appreciation that you got coming into it as well. There's tons of advantages there. I want to move into more where you're headed now, which is all entrepreneurship based type stuff. And first, I want to go into let's talk about the crossover between entrepreneurship and real estate investing.
Yeah.
Because there's a lot of crossover between those. I feel like, I was coming to you earlier, I feel like we're both 38 years old and
38 special.
Yeah, the .38 special. And I feel like
staring down the barrel of 40.
Our era came up with all this Robert Kiyosaki, Rich Dad Poor Dad, philosophy on real estate, which I love. But there's so many of myself, you, friends that we have that are in this real estate machine. And to a certain degree, we almost became cogs in this wheel. We were entrepreneurs. We had all these different business ideas, but we ended up in real estate. What do you see as that crossover? Because there's a lot of parallels between pure entrepreneurship and real estate investing.
Yeah.
Between those two right there, what do you think the positive and negative of those are?
Yeah, so at the end of the day, fixing and flipping or having rentals or doing subject twos, it's a business.
Yeah.
And a lot of real estate investors or people in the real estate space don't look at it as a business. So they end up working in it and they say, I'm gonna go flip a house and make 50 grand. Well, now you gotta do another one and another one and another one. It's like you look back 3 years later, you go, okay, well now I just bought myself a high paying job.
Yeah.
Right?
Yep, for
sure. So you have real estate, you have the component. Now real estate's dynamic. And I think that's the hook that entrepreneurs get involved with, is because you have depreciation, appreciation, you're dealing with finance, you're dealing with contracting, city certs, design. So you have, it stimulates the brain. So you got all this shit going on and you go, wow, this kind of checks a lot of boxes for me.
Yep.
So you can go really deep into it, but then at the end of the day, you need to understand, for me, I needed to tell myself, dude, this is just a business. I still got to hire staff to manage this, or I'm going to be doing everything, and this is going to be my life, and there's a cap to it. And we were talking about this the other day. So if I'm the project manager makes $30 an hour.
Right.
If I'm spending 40 hours a week project managing, I just literally, it's mathematically impossible for me to make $1 million a year.
Yeah.
I'm going to make $100,000 a year at best.
Yep.
Because I spend 10 hours doing the $100 an hour tasks, and then 2 hours doing the $500 an hour tasks, right? So it's just, most people will get sucked into not treating it like a business and treating it like, almost like a get-rich-quick scheme. I thought it was kind of like that. Like I told you that earlier. I think it's kind of a narrow, it doesn't pencil out the way it looks on the spreadsheet.
Yeah.
It just doesn't add up. So circle back around, you kind of asked the question.
Yeah, there's just those crossovers. You hit all of them. There's so many crossovers between entrepreneurs and real estate investors.
Yeah.
And like you said, because there's so many boxes that real estate investing checks.
Yeah.
In an entrepreneur's mind.
Yeah.
Right? It's like, oh, it has this in it, it has this in it, it has all these ingredients
Yeah.
Inside of it that tons of entrepreneurs kind of, I think, end up over in that boat. And then I think a lot of them get stuck over there and they lose kind of that entrepreneurial spirit that they kind of have.
Yeah.
Because as you get deeper into it, again, I did hundreds of deals in a year, and at some point you're just like, dude, what is really happening here, and where am I really going with this, and what is this really, really producing as far as actual net profit on these deals? Because there's so many outflows inside of it. when it comes to entrepreneurship, talk about that one for a second. When it comes to entrepreneurship, I think one of the biggest gifts that an entrepreneur has is vision, of being able to see what's not there, looking ahead and figuring out like, hey, here's this opportunity for X, or here's this business vision opportunity that I could go do. I know you're a big vision guy and love to go deep into what's out there. Talk to us about vision of an entrepreneurship, of the importance of it, and then maybe a little bit of like things that you look at when you get on the road of vision in an entrepreneurship manner.
Okay, so whenever I have an idea, which I have a lot of them,
yeah, of course,
I reverse engineer it. What does it look like? How does it play out?
Yeah.
How many people can I serve? What do the numbers look like? What are the It's like back of a napkin, real quick. Most of those ideas are going to fall flat.
Most of them crash.
Most of them,
not crash in that the business crashes, is that it never takes off. You never do it.
Yeah.
And that's a good thing. That's not a bad thing.
Yeah.
It is actually like you say, I have a new idea all the time. Yeah, but what we're also good at is running the math on it, on this new idea.
That's right.
To see if it actually can even flush out. And most of them won't flush out.
That's the key, dude.
Yeah.
Yeah, I think you hit it. It's like they got to flush out. It's got to pass the secondary test. Like, okay, well, let's plug in some numbers and see what this looks like. Let's put an input and see what it looks like, and then does this thing have legs?
Because I think a lot of it on the vision side goes into it's a tough question, because a lot of it goes into where is this person at right now? Because like when I first got started, you started a painting company, I started window cleaning.
Yeah.
And looking back on it today, there's no chance I'm going to go start a window cleaning company. But back then, where I was as an entrepreneur in my life then, that was a freaking home run for me.
For sure.
And painting was for you as you start a painting company. Because I think when you look at the vision, you got to think about, okay, where am I at? Because I always go vision, when I start vision casting, I try to go as big as possible.
Okay.
Like, let's talk about if we crushed it nonstop, how big could this thing actually get, right? Because at some point, if it's not big enough, then I don't want to do it. Yeah. Right? You cross that bridge, you're like, well, yeah, I mean, I could go do that, but it's not going to be, it's not big enough for me to go do.
That's right.
You ever go that, you ever go, I always go big first, which puts me up here, and then what you talk about, from there, I start reverse engineering that. If I like it, the numbers, like, oh, it could be that big, I start reverse engineering it to what would it take to get there then?
Yeah. I started doing that recently more, like getting around people like you. Yeah. Honestly, you push guys like me that are not quite as far along in the journey to think bigger and to really go that, because at the end of the day, if I'm only going to impact, a few people, why am I going to spend the next 2 to 3 years doing it? Yeah. Like, I want to make a massive impact. That's one of my core values. I want to impact others. Yeah. If it doesn't impact others, I don't want to do it. So there's an opportunity cost. It doesn't matter whether it's a, $100,000 a year, landscaping or gardening company, or a $10 million an hour your business. You get the idea. Like, I have to put time and effort into that, and I want to impact people. So the ability to think bigger, I think it's a stretch, but you need to start stretching that muscle a little bit. For me, it's allowing myself to think bigger. Yeah. Allowing myself to think, okay, how do I impact 10,000 people instead of 100 people? Yeah. So. Yep.
Yeah, I think in all the vision stuff, which I love vision and what it does for an entrepreneur, the kryptonite of vision is production. Yeah. So what happens to a lot of visionaries, me and you, is we have these new ideas, visions of like, hey, we could do this, we could do this, we could do this. Where we always stumble at a lot of times is the actual production of it. And I heard this great truth recently, which I freaking love. It was from a guy who came to my office just recently, and he just recently sold his business, and made a massive take on it, like massive. It was a national company, massive take. And he said, dude, it comes down to 3 things: distraction, action, and traction.
Wow.
And I was like, bro, that is freaking genius. I'm literally going to steal that from you. So officially, that's now my 3 things. But he talked about in vision, in entrepreneurship, it's easy to get distracted because you have this new idea, new concept. and we talk about production, right? It's easy to get distracted. So if you want actually this thing to grow, you got to get rid of all the distractions, take immediate action on whatever it is out of the gate, and then as you take that action, try to get some traction with it so you can push it all the way through. I was like, dude, that is like, I have missed that point I feel like my entire like 38 years of entrepreneurship, I missed that point. Because again, it's like idea, vision, vision, but sometimes production is what hurts me the most.
Yeah, like I'm so glad you brought that up, because an idea that I've been kind of kicking around over and over again, that it's like, get it to the idea stage. After that point, implement it. If it doesn't work, kill the fucking thing.
Yeah, kill it.
Stop trying to save something that's not working. And in my, when I was younger, when I didn't know, I would just try to make something work. And it's like, dude, there's a million other things you can do. Kill it and move on.
Yeah, for sure.
And
man.
I think having
That's
somebody,
a great point.
having somebody in your corner that tells you, like, you don't have to save this thing. You don't have to resuscitate this thing. So I had a business on life support, dude.
Yeah.
Why?
Yep.
Why? Why did I do that? It's like saving a bad relationship,
Yep. There's two thoughts that come to my head when you talk about that. One is Kevin O'Leary, who's one of our partners here, and I've interviewed him. And on the show, he talks a lot about, if you've ever heard this illustration, he'll ask the person, like, hey, so how long have you been in business? And like, oh, we've been in this for 7 years. Like, okay. And how much have you produced so far? Like, well, we've sunk our entire life savings, all this, refinanced our house, blah, blah, blah. And we're 400 grand upside down and with capital, and we're making $23,000 a year. And he's like, okay, let me give you the best piece of advice I could give you. Take that idea behind the barn and shoot it. Because what he's saying is exactly what you're saying right there. Like, there comes a point where, like, dude, let it go. There is way other easier ways to go produce income and money. And at some point, entrepreneurs get caught up in their own dreams of like, oh, I had this idea to go do blank. And it's like, you gotta let it go, man. Take that thing behind the barn and freaking shoot it. Because you're in love with the dream. And a great statement I said just earlier today, stop playing business and do business. I think so many entrepreneurs play business. And they won't let that thing. They will not let that thing die. I also think this goes back to what you talked about, door-to-door sales. You were talking about door-to-door sales, and I think about two guys that we know, Ryan and Jeff from Bucked Up, and they are great at that concept. What you're talking about right there is they're marketers. They're not door-to-door, but they're that door-to-door sales, lead gen marketers. That is who they are. And all they did was find a product. And if that product was the wrong product, they'd throw it away and get another product. And then throw that one away and get another product until they found a product that was like, boom, that one hit. And because they were that, let's just say the concept of what you were talking about, door-to-door sales, that's who they always were, lead generation, marketing people. They were just looking for the right product, and they were quick to kill the product. If it didn't work, but they just moved to the next one. And now they're sitting on freaking, I bet you by the end of the year, maybe $1 billion empire because they found the right product.
Because they
killed 20 of them.
Because they failed fast.
Yeah. That's another great freaking topic right there is failing fast, right? It's okay if you go into what failing fast means to you.
Just do the business, launch the product, figure out if it works. Don't overly analyze it, and just see if it has legs or not. If it doesn't, just kill it.
Fast.
And fail fast.
Go to the next freaking idea.
Yeah, and then go to the next one.
Yeah.
So
it's not fail fast to quit and get out of it. It's the fail fast is like the MVP model. Like, what's the fastest way to market? Does this thing have legs? No, kill it, move on to the next one.
Right.
Fail fast, fail forward, and go to the next one.
Yeah.
I think there's so much truth in it as an entrepreneur. We were here recently with Tim Ballard's group, Operation Underground Railroad, and helping them do some ideas and concepts. And finally, at the end of this, like 2 days training, I pulled him at the very end and said, dude, like, there's all these ideas we just went through. Just almost like set that to the side. Just go take one concept, pick the most important one. You're not going to create it start to finish as the greatest concept. You're not going to build it out for every possible solution that could happen. Just get it to the market, see where it lands at. If it doesn't go good, then end it. But if you spend the next 2 years building up this module that you think is going to be the world's greatest solution for X, and 2 years later you launch it and it goes nowhere, how much did you spend? How much time, energy, support did you use to build it for 2 years to launch it to fail in 2 months? I'd rather spend 2 months creating it and then 2 months testing it and it failed and be done.
No, and it's kind of like the archaic way of building businesses and living basically.
Yeah.
It's the old model. It's the
for
old
sure.
school model is, you test it, you try it out, you do it, you do market studies, you do research, you put a year into it. Well, maybe 3 to 5 years it'll be profitable.
Yep.
Well, now you got all this time invested in it.
Yep.
And I think it's just a way that we've learned over the years that we need to put in time in order to get results, like time equals results.
Yep.
Well, not necessarily. I think action equals results.
Yeah.
What works gives you the results. So,
I love that, man. Let me ask you another question that I love asking people. It comes from Elon Musk. In your entrepreneurship career that you've had so far, I want to ask you, basically it's going to be 2 questions. I'm going to ask you the first one, which is, what is the biggest problem or hurdle that you've had to deal with in your entrepreneurship career? Like, whether it be real estate or just general entrepreneurship, what has been the biggest problem or hurdle that you faced? And then the second part of that question is, I want you to explain that hurdle to us that you had to face. Number 2, how did you actually solve that problem? So what was the biggest problem you faced as an entrepreneur? And then tell us how you solved it, how you fixed it.
This is going to be a little bit different. For me, I think it was allowing other people into my business with an outside perspective, so hiring a coach.
Interesting.
So prior to 2017, I thought I was, honestly, I watched some YouTube videos and read a ton of books, but it was kind of like I was in a very narrow space to where I didn't have an ecosystem. I didn't have a group of other people and coaches looking from the outside in. So I was trying to solve most of the problems myself and with the limited skills of other people around me. I know this is kind of veering away from it,
you're good.
but the problem was, with me and my own limitations, my own management skills, my own limited ability.
No, I think this is a dead-on accurate for entrepreneurs, right? If you think about it, most entrepreneurs are producers, let me go grab this and run with it, let me wrestle the bull to the ground mentality, right?
Yeah, and it's stupid. Honestly, looking back on it, I'm embarrassed. It's
no,
stupid.
I did the same thing. It's like, why did I freaking do that? And because of that, I think it's hard for us when we first get into it, or when we have any type of initial success, to go and let other people into our world, our business, and them tell us what to go do, and I'm going to pay you to tell me what to go do. It's so in our brains backwards to do that concept that most of us will never freaking go do that thing right there, right? So I could totally see that being a big problem in your entrepreneurial life and for others, which is allowing, actually it's not even allowing, it's paying someone to come into your world to tell you what to go do in your business as a consultant, coach, whatever it is, right? It's so anti what we do. How did you solve the problem?
I literally got involved with business coaches and put myself around other business owners in different industries and basically told them where I was and asked for help. Asking for help. I look back on it, I'm like, how did I go that long with doing this shit on my own? You can only exist so long with the knowledge that you have and the people in your circle. I had a very limited circle, and I kind of grew out of that, and I was continuing to try to solve problems on my own. So I think it's 2 things. Fail fast. Well, it's a couple. It's a handful. Fail fast. Okay. Get rid of your pride. Get rid of your ego, and let other people around you that have done this before help you. Because that's how you scale.
No, it's very, very good points. And I'm looking for that ingredient of, hey, the biggest problem was I refused to let other people in. It sounds like to me the way that you solved that was, number 1, just by going first, not necessarily that you went from 0 to let me go hire a coach. It sounded like to me the steps you were saying was let me go get around some other business owners at whether a meetup, a local business event, a mastermind, a whatever it is. Let me go get around some other business people. You start asking questions, right? Because then you're like, oh, well, we're the same. You're a CEO, I'm a CEO. Hey, let me ask you how you solve this, or hey, have you? Or you hear someone talking about a problem that you're facing. And you're like, hey, let's actually say that again. And then you start to realize, like, all of a sudden, wow, actually some outside viewpoints were really, really good for me.
Yeah.
And then it kind of morphs into, well, how do I get more of that? Well, what if I just had one that personally dealt with me? And then the next thing you know, you've hired a business consultant coach to help you. And it's like life-changing for your freaking business.
Life-changing.
Yeah, for sure. And on the flip side of that coin, you can for sure hire the wrong business coach.
Yeah.
We could talk about that too, right? Like, you could hire a business coach that freaking screws it up for you and sucks. And you could hire a business coach that takes you to the next level. Just like in anything else, man, it's very, very crucial into who you hire and then what they're producing or helping you produce inside of your business. I think a lot of that would probably go off of talking to others in your industry and then getting the referrals. I think probably the best way to go about hiring that coach. What would you say? How to hire that business coach that you're referring to? Is that how you do it?
Yeah, I think it goes back to the fail fast, fail quick. If you don't like the coach or you're not getting the results, fire their ass. Stop feeling obligated.
That's true.
And that's what I would do. I'd stay in a relationship to feel obligated to people. It's like, this isn't working. Now, here's a tell with the business coach. Is this guy actually done business, or is he just a coach? Like, is he making more money on the coaching?
Yeah.
Or did he actually succeed in business? Do they actually know the ins and outs of the operations?
Yeah.
And, how to manage a company? Has he been through the hard knocks? Has he been through, because if you're more advanced than this coach you're hiring, it's probably not worth it. It's not to say that somebody can't offer you perspective.
Sure.
They can, and give you tips. Largely, it's about applying them, but don't take that advice from somebody who's just, trying to earn a living on coaching.
There's definitely a difference between perspective and experience.
Yeah.
Those are not the same words with the same value or meaning behind them. You get perspective I get perspective from my mom sometimes on a business that I'm looking at.
Sure.
Just because it's like a totally different perspective.
Yeah.
And she only has one thing at heart.
Yeah.
My safety.
Yeah.
Like, that's the only thing she freaking cares about, right?
Yep.
And she gives me never ran a business, never owned a business, but has a different perspective than other people do.
Yeah.
And then there's experience, which is a totally different. That's like what you're talking about when you go hire that person that's actually already did that business.
Yeah.
Built it, sold it, did it again, and it's like, oh yeah, I can tell you exactly how to go do this. Yeah,
Yeah.
that's the person you should hire, because they can literally walk you through that journey right there.
Yeah. Yeah. And if you're hanging around, so if you're just hanging around your employees that you pay, and you're hanging around your wife, your husband all day long, and your mom, and you're getting advice from all these people, they have a limited view and a limited understanding of how to live and how to produce. So they're probably not going to be the best people to give you business advice or how to grow and scale your company. And I think a lot of business owner-operators stay with that circle.
Yep.
And that's just going to keep them small for years on end.
Yep.
And I would say, like, any advice to somebody who's in that death spiral, as I'd like to call it, because it's just, you're producing, but you're kind of spinning in a circle. Most likely you're not growing and scaling. You got to get around those people that have actually scaled a business, the people that are where you want to be. That would be my best advice.
Yeah, and the people you're talking about, say your staff, employees, mom, dad, et cetera, that you're talking about, it's not just that they may not have the experience, but they also they have a line that they don't feel maybe comfortable crossing with you. So even if they have some really, really good advice, they feel almost like, I don't know if I can say this to my boss, my owner of the company. Can I say this to him or her? I don't know if I have that relationship with them. Where when you hire that outside consultant, it's like just very, very candid. Like, you came, we were hanging out today, and I was giving you some advice, and you had asked me a couple questions. At the end of the day, it's like, well, first of all, I was doing it for free. So it's like, I don't care if you fire me, take this advice, don't take this advice, use it, don't use it. Like, I have no dog in this fight. I'm literally just trying to help you, like, which may be opposite of what some other coach would say. But for me, it was like, I'm not obligated to, and I can probably cross a lot more lines than other people could, which gives you as the business person, gives you a totally different viewpoint than you may ever get from an employee or a parent or a friend of yours that may not want to cross certain lines with you.
Yeah, and I would say, like, and I appreciate that advice, and I don't think I would have been able to take that 2 years ago, 3 years ago, 4 years ago. I wasn't there.
Yeah.
So there's a personal development side to this thing. Like,
that's good too,
like,
man.
you gotta get good with you if you want to grow.
That
Like,
is
you
good.
can't just be, not paying attention to yourself and expect to grow and scale a multi-million-dollar business. Like you gotta check your ego at the door. You gotta watch your pride. You gotta ask for help. And as a guy, a lot of times I don't want to ask for help.
Yeah.
I think I know the answers. I want to be the big dog in the room.
Sure.
So for me to come to you, and like I'll never forget this. This is a really good story. I had so much pride in my business. I had a painting business. I had so much pride in it. I was one of the biggest painting companies in the area, and I had an office on Main Street. Okay, let me tell you, I had trucks that were logoed up. Everybody knew us. We had a cool gimmick and a slogan. So I was like, I had so much ego tied up into that. So much attachment. That's another big problem is attachments. So I was attached to that business. I walked in. I had a customer I did some work from, and it turns out that he bought and sold business. He was like a hedge fund guy.
Yeah.
And these were big players. I got in his office somehow. I don't know how, but he invited me in. Maybe he liked me. I was a young guy at the time. Youth, that's another thing. If you have your youth, use it, lean into it.
Yep.
But I was young, so they gave me a shot. I had, sat around a conference table, and these guys were no bullshit. And I never forget, he asked me a few questions. He went straight to the point about the numbers.
Yeah.
I stuttered a little bit on the numbers.
Yeah.
I was full of pride in the beginning, and this guy literally, I gave my business card. He flossed his teeth with my business card in front of me.
Yeah.
Asked me a couple more questions, got up and say, good luck with your business.
Yeah.
And that's what I was afraid of, is somebody like that. But there's people out there, it's like, that's not what business coaches do. Those are
No.
Those are people that, want to potentially help or buy your business or steer in the right direction. But you got to get in front of the right people, and you have to be vulnerable with the right people. So don't, I'd say anybody that's new, don't get high on your own supply. Don't be drinking your own Kool-Aid. Get around other people. Let them put you in check. Like, dude, it's not as big as you think it is, most likely. If you're under the $2-3 million mark, it might seem significant to you. It probably is a significant business, even the $10 million mark. But in the big scheme of things, it's like, there's people that can help you out there.
Yeah.
So
If I, as you're going through here, you said it a while ago, like, hey, there's just one thing. Well, there's a handful of things. One thing I've noticed in entrepreneurship is, dude, there's a lot of ingredients that it takes to be successful in entrepreneurship. It's not like I wish I could sit here after all these interviews and say, hey, here's this common denominator. You have to do this and you'll be successful. Dude, there's not. There's like a lot of ingredients. Like you just went through a bunch of them, right? Like attachment. That's one that people don't talk a lot about that could cripple you inside a business, is attachment. And most people don't even acknowledge what that is or even think about that concept. But you can get attached to an idea, a concept, a dream, trucks, logos, slogans, mission statements, core values, and before you know it, like you've screwed yourself over this one ingredient called attachment that you've never mastered, right? I want to talk to you about Money Is, and hit on the topic of Money Is Blank with Steve Streit. And what I want you to do, you fill out your answer right here, sign it right here, and then I want me and you to talk about why you put that and why that means that to you.
All right, cool. Kind of sloppy, but that kind of works. Should I?
Nope, yep, there it is. So Steve Streit, money is energy. Money is energy. Now this is a word that I freaking love when it comes to money, because I think it's all like when I think about my word of what money is, I think that is definitely in my top 5 of what I would use right there. Of money is energy. There's like 1,000 different parallels here that I could give to it, but first let's go through yours. Why did you put money as energy?
I think it's actually one of the highest forms of energy.
Okay.
And I'm not talking about when you burn it. It's literally the highest form of value that we can exchange. If I give you a $100 bill, that shows you, my appreciation for something you did. It's the quickest way to show that, where I do a transfer.
Okay.
I can say thank you, I can do acts of service, but it's literally the highest form of energy that we have right now.
100%. Keep going, because I want to dive into that one.
Yeah, I want to hear more about what you have to say, but that's, to me, it's, and people are afraid to talk about it, but whether you have it or you don't, it's energy, dude. It fuels that car. Like, you can have the nicest car in the world, but if you don't have fuel in that tank, you're not going to go anywhere.
Yep.
So, and I look at it as fuel, energy, fuel. So I want more of it to fuel my vision, more my dream, my vehicle. So it's not the end all be all. It's just, it's the fuel.
Yeah. I mean, when I always talk about money as energy, and why I put it as the top 5, because I almost think that if you actually define what money is, like if you define it, let's break down what money represents. All money actually represents is energy. That's actually what it's representing. So if you stop and think about it for a second, I'll give the illustration you gave. I did something and you wanted to give me $100 to say thank you. Okay, the $100 is representing something. You're giving me this $100, but that $100 is representing your energy. For you to get the $100, you had to do something to acquire the $100.
That's right.
Which means all money is basically a holding, a way to hold, if you will, stored energy, right? Because you might have did ABC, spent energy on that wholesale transaction a year ago that got you that $100, and then you gave me that $100. All the $100 is representing is your stored energy of what you spent. And you can break this down, because I've done this and chased this rabbit for a long time. There's no way around you getting money without energy. There's no way. Like, it doesn't matter. Energy is what's representing that money. Like, even if you inherit the money, okay, it doesn't matter. Someone spent the energy, whether it means they bought and sold something. At the easiest form that we use right now is if I were to hire you and I agree to pay you $30 an hour to be my project manager. When I pay you at the end of the week, what am I really paying you for? All the energy that you gave me.
That's right.
And so the money just represents the stored energy, because I can't give you the energy back.
That's right.
But I can give you that, which represents the energy that you spent. Want more money? Have better energy. Use more experienced energy, right? That's why you said, like, why it never worked for you to be a project manager, because you'll be tapped at $30 an hour, right? So all money is, if you stop and think about it, is freaking energy. And then I went into this world of diving into how energy moves. And I come from a family of electricians. And so I started going deep into like how a breaker works in a house. Like, you do houses, right? You have these breaker panels, right? 200 amp, 150 amp, et cetera. When the breaker box in that house, which is all the energy is flowing in and out of, right? It literally has checks and balances, and it has safety valves. And if a breaker, when you're in a bathroom, right, and they plug in too many things into it, it will flip that breaker, which is there to tell you, like, hey, you are expending too much energy that cannot take. And money's like the same way. You should have checks and balances in your money as in your investments. And what happens to most people is when that switch is in a house, think about this, when that breaker switch is in the bathroom, what do most people go do? Just like talk this out for a second. Like, what do most people go do? Breaker switches, right? They got too many things plugged in. It short circuits. The breaker switches flips off, and the power goes off in that bathroom area. What do most people naturally go do?
I don't know. Flip the breaker.
Just go flip the breaker.
Yeah.
Well, hey, dummy, it flipped for a reason.
Yeah.
It's trying to tell you something, and you are ignoring what that breaker, that safety valve, is trying to tell you. It was trying to tell you, if you keep doing this, you're going to burn the house down. Instead, we just say, oh, let me go flip it again. And we turn it back on.
Yeah.
Like, the whole thing of energy and money, I could go on forever and ever and ever about.
That's
and
cool.
I totally agree that money at its truest, purest form is just energy.
Yeah.
Stored energy. That's all it is. You want that car to go faster? Have more energy.
Yeah.
Right? Like, you want to go faster in your business? Well, you gotta have energy, which means you gotta have money, which means how are you expanding your energy to get more money? Dude, I freaking love that answer, Steve. I know you're moving a ton into entrepreneurship and helping other entrepreneurs create success. And we talked a lot about this earlier, man. Like, so much of success is what you've said it. I don't know if you caught. I definitely caught what you said 1,000 times of, like, fail fast. Fail fast, fail fast. Like, dude, we talked about this earlier. Like, most of success is learned through the failures. Most of what you'll teach entrepreneurs is the process of going around the failures. That's where you learn especially the school of hard knocks that you go through.
Yeah.
Like and so if I left this with one concept, it would be fail fast. Like I think you nailed that point. It's very, very, very true inside of business, inside of real estate, inside of just entrepreneurship. MVP model, get to market, fail fast, and if it does fail, kill it and move to the next one, man.
That's right.
You have 1,000 different ideas that you could go do. Guys, I hope you guys have enjoyed the show. This is Steve Streit from Detroit, Michigan. You guys make sure you follow him as well as his YouTube channel at Steve Streit. We'll put his show notes below where you guys we'll tag him so you guys can go follow him. I hope you guys enjoyed the Money Is Show with Steve Streit. Remember, in entrepreneurship, according to Steve, fail fast and go to the next idea if it doesn't work out. This is the Money Is Show. We'll see you guys next week.